This video will provide an overview of the new Project Planner Advanced Excel template. You can find the information about this template here on inzara.blogspot.com, and you can also find a link to this template on the right sidebar in the Premium Solutions section. This template is helpful for project planners who have multiple projects to plan for, and then they have too many different resources that they manage. And this template can help you in easily plan your projects in such scenarios. This template can determine if your projects will complete and when they will complete. Once you input the tasks and then the duration of the tasks, availability of resources, and set project and task priorities, then the template will automatically calculate the plan for you. It can also determine if your project will complete by a specific due date that you set for project. And schedules are very easily created. You can create schedules at the project level, resource or task level. And understanding the resource utilization becomes so much easier. You can easily identify which resources are being underutilized. And you can also find out how many hours of work are still pending for your projects after assigning all the resources so that you can request more resources. You can also estimate the cost of each project and all total cost because the template provides you an option to input costs for each resource at an hourly level. This template was built for Excel for Windows, and it works in 2007, 2010, and 2013 versions of Excel for Windows. There are some key features that are listed here. We will be going through them as we do a demo of the template, but some of the key things that you need to remember are the template can plan up to 50 projects at a time, and there's a limit of 250 tasks, and you can have up to 25 resources, and the planning period is 366 days. Planning is done in the hourly level, and which means that you can say a specific task takes 5 hours or 10 hours or whatever it may be, so you can input them in the hours. Now, without any delay, let's just go into the demo of the template. This is the template with some sample data filled in. When you download your copy, you will have no data entered in it. This is a sample set that I'm using, which makes it easier to demo the product. This is where you begin. There are 7 sheets in this template. The first 3 are where you would enter the data. The next 3, highlighted in a yellowish color here, are the sheets where they are all automatically calculated. And the last sheet is just a help sheet with some definitions so that you can look at it for reference if you have any questions. In the settings sheet, which is where you begin with, you can enter up to 25 resources, and you enter the resource ID and the name. They both are required fields. And then you would enter how many hours each resource is available for to work in any weekday. And then you would also enter the cost per hour for that resource. And this template allows you to customize your weekends. So for your projects, if you want to set always all the Saturdays and Sundays to be weekends, meaning non-working days, then you can just choose yes. If, for example, in your business, you want to set this to yes, you can set Mondays to yes. This automatically tells the template not to assign any work on Mondays now. And if I don't want to have this restriction, then I can just hit delete key, and that deletes that information. And now work will be assigned on Mondays. You can also enter a list of company holidays. And again, these days will not be used for assigning projects. You can also enter for each resource. So in this example, I have 4 resources. So of the 4 resources, you can enter personal leave for each resource separately. For example, if I want to have 2 holidays or personal leave for the first resource, then all I have to do is to type in another day here, and this means that this new personal leave is also now will be taken care of by the template, and no work will be assigned for this resource on 16th of August 2014. So you can enter more holidays or more personal leave For each resource, you can enter more company holidays here. You can enter more resources, up to 25 resources. There are a few error messages that may display here. If you don't have any error messages, then everything is good. If you have duplicate resource names or IDs, then you'll see some error messages. That should help you correct the data, and then the template would work fine. Now, next sheet is the project sheet, which is where you would start by entering your planning period. So the planning period start date, you should enter this. This is a required information. And in this case, I've entered 5th June 2014. And then the end date, I've entered it as 5 September 2014. Maximum is 366 days. And if you want to set this to, for example, April 2015, then I will just enter this information this way. Now I have expanded the planning period quickly. The project level, you can enter 50 projects, and project ID, project name are required fields. They also need to be unique, so make sure that there are no duplicates. If there are duplicates, then you will see some error messages come up here. Project description is for your own documentation, which would help you describe the project. And then these two dates are optional. Preferred start date is the date which you would enter if you have some restriction on when the project should begin. For example, here, this project, I am telling Excel that it should not start before 5th August. Even though my planning period begins from 5th June, I don't want this project to start until August 5th. So I would enter that. If you don't have any such restrictions, you can leave it as blank. And what happens is the template automatically will try to get the project started as soon as possible on or after 5th June, which is our planning period begin date. Now, preferred end date is when you would like the project to be completed, but again, that is not guaranteed that it'll complete by that day. This is just used to compare whether your project is completing before this date or not. Project priority, this is a required field. Please make sure that you enter project priorities. If you have duplicate priorities, both projects will get assigned the same priority, but you cannot leave them as blank. If you leave them as blank, the project will not be included in the plan. So please make sure that you provide the priority. 1 indicates the highest priority. So the template will start assigning this project first, the project 1, and then before it goes to project 2, because this is the highest priority. That's why this is important. The plan status, if you have any data entry errors, it'll display here. For example, here, error, no valid task, error, no task entered yet. So these two projects, for example, will not be included in our plan because they have some errors. If they have no errors, then you will see them listed as planned. So please make sure that you see them. The plan status value come up. This is a calculated field, so please do not modify this. Now, after you enter this project information, you would go to the tasks sheet. And in the tasks sheet, this is where you would enter tasks. You can enter up to 250 tasks. And you can see here in this sample example, I've entered about 245 tasks. And when I come up there, task ID is a required field. And this is where you would uniquely identify each task. And please make sure that it's unique. Project name is a drop-down menu from the previous sheet. So you select the project, choose a task name, and then assign the task to a resource, and then enter the number of hours required for this task. So these are the 5 required fields here. Everything else is optional. So this is what you have to provide to the template at a minimum. What is the name of the task? Which project does it belong to? Which resource am I assigning to, and how long will that task take? That's the minimum information that you need to provide to template. Task end plan is a calculated field. It'll tell you if there is any error. If there's no error, is the task included in plan? Yes. Meaning, will it complete? Yes. And will the task not complete? Then it'll say no. Otherwise, if there are any errors, it'll say error, no task name, no resource name. In this case, for example, I haven't provided a resource name, so I have an error. Once I update it, automatically now the calculation updates and says now the task will be completed. So this is a very simple calculated field that will instantly tell you whether your task will complete or not. There are some additional information that you can provide to the template which will give you more control over how the tasks are assigned. For example, task description is just a description that you can enter for your own reference. The task preferred start date gives you more control. So for example here, I am telling Excel that this specific task, I don't want it to start before 2nd August. So even though there may be resources available, then the template will not assign this task, will not start this task until 2nd August, because I'm providing that information to Excel saying, I want my task to start 2nd August or after. Similarly, this task will only start 2nd September or after. This is great to control when your task should begin. Predecessors. There are 2 predecessors that you can enter. Predecessors are nothing but, for example, in this specific task, the predecessor ID is 3. That means only if task ID 3 is complete, this task ID 5 will begin. So task ID 3 is here, and only after that completes, the task ID 5 can begin. That's what this means. And so by just typing this information here, now you are establishing dependencies and predecessors. And please note that the way the template is built, task ID 5 can begin the day after task ID 3 is complete. So that's what this means. You can also have 2 predecessors for a task. So for example here, only after task ID 1 and 2 both are completed, the day after task ID 13 can begin. So that's how you can use the predecessors to establish dependencies between your projects. And please note that the dependencies can be from other projects too. It doesn't have to be within the same project. So for example here, this is project 3, but then it depends on task ID 1 and 2, and these are from project 1. So you can have dependencies across different projects too. And finally, you can have a task priority. So even within a specific project, you can prioritize the projects, and 1 means the highest priority and 2 means the next highest. So you can establish priorities, and the template will start scheduling the tasks based on the priority. So with these options, you have a lot of control over how your projects and tasks are scheduled. After you've completed all the data entry, now we go to the plan summary sheet. And this is a sheet where you actually have the summary statistics. And the first page here gives you project level summary statistics. And then it tells you earliest possible start date for the project, expected start date for the project. So earliest possible start date is the date when the project can start if there are no resource restrictions. But expected start date is when it actually will begin, given that you have resource restrictions. Delay in the start is nothing but, for example, this project can start earliest possible is 1st September, but in reality, it's only beginning on 9th October. So there's a 38-day delay. And if you want to reduce the delay, you can actually assign the tasks to different people, different resources who may be available, and that will reduce the delay in start and get the project started as soon as possible. Preferred end date is that something you enter, and then in the projects sheet, and then expected end date is when the template says the project will complete. So for example, this project, you would like it to complete 26 July, but it only completes 3rd September. So clearly this project is not going to complete on time. And hours required is your input. Hours completed is how many hours will be completed according to the project schedule. And then hours pending is how many are still left to be completed. This completed flag says if a project is completed or not. So if all the hours are required are completed, then you will see this as yes. And let's go back here quickly, and let me change this to something maybe August 2014. And now this might mean that some projects may not be completed because we are looking at a much smaller time frame. And now what happened is none of the projects could be completed. So you all know here, because we are looking at a very small planning window, and the template is saying all these projects cannot be completed given the timeline. So let's go back here and let's extend it to October 1st. And let's go back here. And now you see that some projects will complete, 1, 2, 3 will complete, 4 and 5 will not complete because they still have some hours left to do. So that's how you would interpret this. And then these color formats are provided to help you identify which projects will not be completed. And this is a timeline view of, this is a weekly view of the project schedule. So you can clearly see the projects that will be completed, when it begins and when it ends, and then projects that do not complete, when did it start, when did it end. And you can have until the entire year, but since we limited only to October 1st, this is the window in which you're planned for. Finally, on this sheet, we have the resource summary that provides a summary of, for each resource, number of hours available, how many hours have been allocated, what's the utilization rate, and then how many days was the resource available to work, and how many hours did we allocate some work, and how many days did we not allocate, total number of tasks assigned to each resource, and then the cost associated with them. There's a chart that compares the utilization rate, helps you identify the underutilized resource quickly. Now we move on to the next sheet, which is our task schedule sheet. And in this sheet, you have 3 options. So you can either choose project. Let's choose project. And then you will choose a specific project from our list. So let's say I want to change it to project 2. And then now the template will update the schedule. If I want to go back to project 1, now the tasks will be updated. So you only see the task for the project that you chose. You have some summary statistics at the top. You have each task for that project listed here with some statistics. And also you will see, for example, this actual schedule here, and there are color coded to help you easily identify. The green ones mean that the work has been allocated. The gray ones mean that it's a weekend, company weekend. The orangish color indicates that it's a company holiday, and the grayish color indicates that the resource is not available. Maybe because, for example, this is assigned to a resource who does not work on a Monday. So Mondays are highlighted with bluish gray, so that you can clearly see along the timeline when the resource was not available, when the work was getting done, when was it a company holiday or a company weekend. So every information that you would need is clearly visible, and this schedule goes on for the entire year. Again, if you're planning for an entire year, you can see everything in one view. Now, you can also use this schedule to do a resource schedule. So if I choose resource, then I can actually, now nothing shows up because we have to choose a resource now. And so I'm going to choose a resource. And now you see some summary statistics up here for that resource. You will also see that the schedule has been updated. So all the tasks assigned to one resource, you can see at a glance. So that's the purpose of this. And finally, there is also another view where you can say all tasks. And this means that all the tasks for this entire portfolio of projects, everything that you've entered will show up here. And you can see that all the 240 tasks that I've entered will show up here. Now, finally, the last sheet we have is the resource view. And the resource view provides just the number of hours available for each resource for every given day, and then the number of hours allocated by the template for every day is also available. And when you scroll down towards the right, you will see towards the end that this template also provides you the total number of hours available and the number of days available, and similarly total hours allocated and then the number of days allocated for each resource. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there is a help sheet which goes into detail about how some of the definitions of the terms used in the template are defined. Hopefully this provided a good overview of what the template can do and how the template is set up. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and you can leave a comment in the comment section of this blog post. And this again is available from inzara.blogspot.com, and you can find a link to this on the right sidebar under the Premium Solutions as Project Planner Advanced. This blog post also has a lot of screenshots that you can view, and also a lot of information about the template itself. Again, any questions, please let me know or leave a comment in the comment section of this blog post. Thank you very much for watching the video.